Wealth Management Podcast.
Welcome to the ZHAW Wealth Management Podcast. Today from Zurich West, we're at Hartbrücke at Deloitte Switzerland's headquarters. I'm joined by Jean-François Lagassé, whom I've known and worked with for quite some time. There's many things we can talk about. Jean-François, may you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, and good morning, Chris. Nice to be here with you this morning in Zurich. So my background, Jean-François Lagassé, I'm a partner at Deloitte. I lead our financial services industry for the firm in Switzerland. I also lead wealth management for the firm globally. And I'm the vice chair of the Swiss firm. And finally, my background is really, I focus on M&A in the banking sector and primarily in the wealth management sector with close to over 100 deals completed in the sector over my career.
Wow. And as you mentioned, a lot of hats. You're probably first and foremost a client server. As you mentioned, industry-wise, the global wealth leader. I think Switzerland's overall financial services leaders, including insurance, investment management. As you said, Swiss exec, and that does not sound like a 9-to-5 job to me.
It's certainly, and I forgot to mention, Chris, I'm what we call a lead client service partner for a number of our priority accounts in the firm. So I have a lot of hats, that's for sure. I have busy weeks, that's correct, but I also enjoy very much what I do, and I find lots of motivation in these various roles.
A week in the life is between Zurich and Geneva, and
yes.
How is it between, say, client serving and leadership?
Yeah, so client serving, probably I have a number of clients in Geneva because that's where I've been historically based. I also have a number of clients in Zurich as well, some of my leadership roles are in Zurich because that's where the headquarter is. But if I look at Geneva, it will be primarily private banks because that's what Geneva is famous for. Well, if I look at Zurich, it's been it's some private banks, but also it'll be retail banks, consumer lending, insurance companies that are my clients also in the region. In the Zurich region.
Understood.
Yeah.
Now Deloitte is obviously, I suppose also to our audience, is a well-known global firm with many services to many industries.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about your service line, what you do? You've mentioned M&A and deals, is it strategy? What exactly do you do at Deloitte?
Yeah, so we've just reconfigured our taxonomy at Deloitte, and we call this now strategy, risk and transactions. And I'm from the transaction part. But we also help our clients, define their strategy, and before any deals, or also strategy organically. How they can grow their business, for example, or how they need to restructure their business, and what type of products, services they should be focusing on, and where they could be differentiating. We have where to play, how to win, our metrics. Yeah.
Yes.
And also on risk. On the risk side, risk and compliance transformation, on forensic as well, for financial crime, how we help banks, insurance companies deal with financial crime. So it's quite a varied service line in which we are, and we help our clients also in M&A. So on my side, I do M&A advisory, and people call this investment banking. But we have other colleagues that specialize in due diligences, in valuations, in restructuring, in post-merger integration. So we help our clients end to end on a deal, yeah, from the beginning, from inception till the closing, and even post-closing.
And so on the deal side, you would even compete with an investment bank.
Yeah, we do compete with some of our competitors, some bank like a Rothschild or a UBS. Or Goldman Sachs.
Yeah, the well-known.
Yeah, we do compete against them, of course, with some boutiques and the big four.
Yes, always, yes.
Yeah.
And clients in your case are mainly wealth management banks, or what's a typical client?
Yeah, most of the deals that I've completed, as I said before, Chris, I've been in the wealth management sector, and I serve primarily family-owned banks that have a succession issue, for example. Or maybe some mid-sized banks, yeah, because they don't necessarily have an M&A team in-house, and they need advice on how to do a deal, how to structure a deal, either on the buy side or on the sell side. Yeah. So if a bank wants to divest of one of its subsidiaries, I don't know, in Europe or maybe in Asia, that I can help them with that. Or if it's a family-owned bank, they have a succession issue because the next generation doesn't want to take over, I will help them, go through the deal.
Yeah. Now, Big Four have somewhat of a large cap, I suppose, reputation, client base, and really serving Fortune 500, corporations.
Yeah.
Is there a minimum size for a client? Would you also serve, let's say, a small local bank with 50 FTE? Is there a minimum threshold?
Absolutely. We will serve these banks because, for us, we obviously, the large banks, as I said, have, M&A teams. And so they don't need M&A advisors like me. They have that in-house. Yeah, they often hire advisors or from the bulge bracket banks that come and join us, and so they don't need my services, but they will need services from my colleagues. The due diligence, perhaps the valuation to do a fairness opinion. When the deal is completed, they will need people who help do the integration. So the mid-tier themselves, as I said, they don't have M&A teams. And so if they want to do an acquisition, they'll call me, I'll help them. And the small banks, a 50-person bank, that's also interesting. And the reason why it's interesting is because in the Swiss market, as you know, the growth is not that strong. And so given there is also pressure from a cost standpoint, banks need to consolidate in order to gain in scale, in order to become more profitable. And so what our clients are the small banks, when we take on a sell side mandate, we're often quite easily able to find a buyer for them, because you have, for every bank for sale, you have probably 10 buyers. So it's really a seller's market today.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. Now the industry overall, management consulting is, and you've mentioned you're a veteran, for decades. I assume has changed quite a bit in your tenure. I suppose it's a very different industry today than when it was when you were a junior consultant. I'm not going to ask you how old you are, but I'm not sure if there was even internet when you started. Probably a very different business. How has that evolved over your tenure, our business overall?
Internet did not exist when I started
my
career. And I remember doing spreadsheets on a piece of paper.
Wow.
That was seemed a long time ago.
Yes.
But internet came a few years after I started my career. So I want to reassure you, not that old. And so, well, I guess, it's become...
it's grown tremendously over
the firms, if you look, when I started, firms like Deloitte probably had, 8-10 billion turnover. And that was primarily an audit and tax business. Mm-hmm. Today, Deloitte is close to 70 billion turnover. So it's multiplied by 7 over that period of time. And of course, the services that we're providing have increased significantly. And the breadth and depth of services that we do today got nothing to do with what we do back then.
Yeah.
I think during that period of growth, firms like us have identified white space into the market. And if you were, one of the first ones, and I think, at Deloitte we were one of the first ones that started M&A practice, it was not so competitive at the time. Today, it's much more competitive. I think, I think we really try to differentiate ourselves versus our competitors by saying, we can offer you, let's say, a one-stop shop, because we can help you from the beginning of a transaction till the end and post-closing, which there's not that many players that can do that. Investment banks cannot do that. Boutiques cannot do that, and we can bring all the services to the table. So I think that's really a strength of the firm that we have today in order to bring all these capabilities. Plus, when you're at a certain scale, there's been also, you're able to focus by sectors. And historically, when I started, I could sell one day a bank, the next day a watch company, and then
very cross-industry, yes.
And the following day a business services company or a transportation company. But today, that's more difficult because clients expect you to understand really their industry, also understand what their peers are doing, because you need to be very familiar with the strategies of the potential buyers or the potential sellers in order to make sure that you can match that, right? To make sure that there's an appropriate strategic fit between what you're trying to achieve for your client as an M&A advisor versus potentially somebody else in front of you that you want to acquire or merge with. And so it requires much more dedication from an industry standpoint and specialism.
Has AI been, it's obviously disrupting a lot of industries. Has it been disruptive to our industry in a sense, clients could think, why would I pay for Deloitte? I can just ask ChatGPT and they give me all the answers.
I think, I think we're at the beginning of that journey today. And it's not fully clear where this will lead, yeah? But one thing is for sure is that some of the, let's say, more maybe perhaps analytical and number crunching and gathering data from different sources, etc. That's going to be, I think that will be replaced. Yeah, all these hours that we have analysts spent on scanning the internet, etc., and finding appropriate sources of information. I think that's going to change. So it means it's going to make our work more efficient, and clients are probably not going to be willing to pay for that. That said, our clients will still, I think, look for value-added advice that we can bring to the table. And I think that's particularly important for Switzerland as a geography, because Switzerland, as we know, one of the countries in the world where it's most expensive, yeah, to hire workforce. And so we cannot say we will be doing large-scale technology implementations because our clients are going to say, I'm going to do that somewhere else, yeah, in India or wherever. And so, but what we can bring to the table is to say, we've done similar type of work for your competitors, and we can provide insights as to what the industry is doing.
What are some of your remaining goals that you still want to achieve? Maybe on a personal level, also with Deloitte. What are some of your personal objectives in the next years?
So on my side, Chris, I'm still, despite the fact that I've been working for many years, I still continue to get a lot of motivation and interest for what I do. So I'm full on, and my expectation is I will continue for many years to come.
Very good, Jean-François. Thank you very much for this interview. Fascinating. Thank you.
Chris, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your attention.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.